When discussing the factions and all the quests that go with them in Skyrim, it's not enough to just use a tier list, because there's the gameplay aspect, which I have here on the vertical axis. If I put it at the top, it's fun. If I put it at the bottom, it's a tedious grind. But then there's also the writing, which I have on the horizontal axis. So if it's further to the left, the writing for that mission sucks, meaning that the plot and the characters aren't that great. And if it's all the way to the right, that means the writing is very good. You have good characters, you have a strong plot. So I'm going to rank all of the different factions, and I'm just using pictures of the faction leaders here, just so you know who we're talking about. So let's begin with the basics. You have the basic quest dealing with the Greybeards and the Horn of Jurgen Windcaller and whatnot. I would say this mission is the most mid of mid. For starters, all the Greybeards do is teach you shouts. They don't give you any special gear. You don't get any special items. The only things you might get are from the dragons themselves when you kill them and make your own dragon scale or dragon bone armor, but otherwise, you don't actually gain any physical items from them that you can show off. All you get are a few shouts that you barely use throughout the game. Let's be honest, do you really use Clear Skies that often? How often do you use it? Maybe to get up High Hrothgar to talk to Parthenax, but afterwards, there's kind of no point to use it. I have used it against Alduin in the first fight. When he starts calling the meteor shower down, I try to clear it up with Gray Skies, but it seemed kind of random whether or not that actually counteracts his Storm Call shout. But otherwise, the Greybeards are kind of mid. They really needed a little more of an edge to them, maybe some artifacts to go along with them, because when you think about it, the Greybeards are kind of a benevolent equivalent to the Dragon Priests. Because if you think about it, the Dragon Priests speak the dragon tongue and know shouts, so do the Greybeards. The Dragon Priests worship a dragon. The Greybeards don't worship Parthenax, but he is their leader. What would have been cool is to see a quest where you have a Greybeard fighting a Dragon Priest. Maybe both of them are having a conversation. And while we're on the topic, I'm actually going to slide the plot over to the weak section, because we've kind of got a problem here. According to the lore, whenever you kill a dragon and absorb its soul, you absorb the knowledge of that dragon, right? Well, every dragon speaks in the dragon tongue. Every dragon knows how to speak dragon tongue and Tamrielic or whatever language you're speaking. So can you please explain to me why I cannot understand Moruke when he's speaking in the dragon tongue if I have absorbed so many dragons by the time I get to him? You should be able to understand everything a dragon says, and it should be very clear to you. So that's why we're going to slide it to the left of mid. Up next we have the Dark Brotherhood. Now, let's be honest, some of the people you kill in the Dark Brotherhood deserve it. Grellet the Kind definitely deserves it. Beltrid in Morthal, or is she in Dawnstar, that miner, she's kind of a jerk, she deserves it. I actually agree with bards being annoying, so there you go. You also kill the most deserving one of all, Titus Mead. The man who signed the White Gold Concordant and forced the people of Skyrim to give up the ways that they've held for centuries. You get to kill him. Now, we're actually going to slide the plot a little bit over, because there was no reason for Astrid to think that Commander Malro would spare her. I don't know why she thought that would work. That was a stupid plan, but all in all, I would say it is one of the strongest missions. I always join the Dark Brotherhood on every playthrough because of the fact that you get to kill Titus Mead. Now let's talk about the Blades. They go over here, complete and utter trash. They want you to kill Parthenax to join them. No thank you. I never joined them. They can all just go die in a fire, especially Delphine. I hate her so much. Anyway, we have the Thieves Guild. Now, in terms of writing, the plot is strong. The plot is on point. Let's talk about Mercer Frey for a second. Mercer Frey is the man who you think, oh, he's just another faction leader. I just gotta go do quests for him. But he turns out to be the bad guy. In an amazing plot twist, he spends all of this time misdirecting you, thinking that Carlia is the bad guy, for him to all of a sudden stab you in a cutscene. And the cutscene in which he betrays you is some Call of Duty Modern Warfare style cutscene. It's amazing. Not only this, but if you look at his weaponry, He carries dwarven weaponry. Well, the dwarves are very secretive. They live underground. So his weaponry represents who he is as a character. He's full of secrets, he's underground, and just like how the dwarves basically experimented on the Falmer and had no compassion and just did whatever they wanted, he is also very pragmatic, very shrewd, and willing to do whatever he wants and take advantage of whoever he wants to get his way. So him carrying dwarven weaponry is actually a very good representation of his sneaky, underground, underhanded nature. But we're actually going to slide this all the way into the tedious grind category, and you know why. Because when you have to do all those special jobs, all of the bedlam and sweep and burglary jobs for Delvin and Vex, you don't get the option to choose what city you do each job in. It comes to you at random, meaning you have to constantly keep taking jobs and dropping jobs to get the mission you want, taking away from any and all possible enjoyment. If you just did the main quest to become guild leader, and those side quests were just for the different shops, I would place this in the fun category. But it's a great plot, but a tedious grind. Now we talk about the Stormcloaks. Hard to say really anything's wrong with them. I would say they're one of the stronger missions, and I personally agree with their reasoning. We're going to place it up there. There's not much to say about it. You get all these special titles: Unblooded, Ice Veins, Stormblade. You rank up, and it's beautiful, and you get to watch Skyrim be liberated. What would have been nice is if they added a little more to it. Maybe there are some Imperials that are trying to march on the city, and you have to repel them. That would have been nice. Or maybe give you your own legion of soldiers that are under your command because you are the Stormblade. Speaking of legion, the Imperial missions go over here. Actually, they're about as fun as the Stormcloak missions are, but the writing's bad. Why would I join the team that was trying to decapitate me in the start of the game? I cannot think of a reason. And the reason why the plot is also so much weaker is because when you become a legate, and on my first playthrough I was an Imperial and I became the legate, you still take orders from Legate Rika. Why? Why can't I give orders? Why am I still taking orders from a legate if I'm also a legate? That makes no sense whatsoever. I'm not a junior legate. I'm not a lieutenant legate. I'm not an associate legate. I am not even an assistant legate. I am a full legate, and I'm still taking orders from Rika. They should have fixed that. They should have made you actually feel like you ranked up. Dawn Guard. This one's tough. Everything after you rescue Serana is a tedious grind. I can't think of one mission where I actually had fun in Dawn Guard. It's a tedious grind, just sub out the Draugrs for vampires. So I'm going to put it in the grind territory. Now the writing for it is kind of mid, so it goes here. It firmly goes in the center of the plot map. Because if you think about it, in this mission it's not satisfying. In almost every other faction of the game, when I finish the quest, I become the leader of that faction. I enjoy that. I play video games to feel powerful. I play video games to feel like I can do whatever I want. But I'm still taking orders from Isran, the rude bastard, who whenever you're storming Castle Volkahar, all he says is, "For the Dawn Guard! For Skyrim!" He's uninteresting. He really has nothing to say. He's kind of like those old people who say, "You're not as dumb as you look." He's kind of crotchety, not relatable. You don't win his trust. You don't get him as a follower. What do you really get out of this mission? Nothing much. And speaking of which, let's also cover the vampire side of things. It's pretty much the same amount of fun as the Dawn Guard side, just with a weaker plot. Because if you think about it, if you put out the sun, no more crops. Without crops, the Nords starve to death. If the Nords starve to death, the vampires have nothing to eat. Even the Moth Priest points this out. And that's why there's really no good reason to play as a vampire. The Vampire Lord form sucks. It's got a weaker melee attack than the Werewolf. The spell takes forever to kill enemies because I play exclusively on Legendary. So for me, the Werewolf and the Vampire Lord both suck. because they have limited damage they can do, and it's not multiplied by your armor and your jewelry. And that's only because I play on Legendary. If you're playing on regular Adept mode, then the Vampire Lord and the Werewolf are awesome. But speaking of Werewolf, the Companion quest has everything I want in a quest. Let me actually move Astrid over. You become the faction leader after the previous one dies. You have followers that you have access to once you complete the missions. You gain an enchanted item in the form of Wuthrad as well as Ysgrimmor's shield. You get companion armor and you get to be a werewolf. It's classic Skyrim, the medieval fantasy, the thing that epitomizes the Elder Scrolls franchise. It's beautiful. Now the last one that we're going to talk about is the College of Winterhold. Now, I have a lot of mixed feelings about this. The plot is not the best. A giant orb is about to destroy the world because an elf is using it. And you must go get a stick to stop the elf from using the orb to destroy the world. But plot's kind of dumb, because if you think about it, Ancano only has access to that power while he's standing in front of the Eye of Magnus. What about when he has to take a poop, or go to the bathroom, or take a nap? What then? Does he lose that power and you can just cut him in his throat because he's not accessing the Eye of Magnus? So, plot's kind of weak. It's hard to feel that sense of urgency. Savos Aran just kind of walks around, sitting in his chair, looking around, looking with that stupid look on his face, doing nothing. And if he's so powerful, why didn't he go back to Labyrinthian, or at least go with Dragonborn to Labyrinthian before the Eye of Magnus? Because if he's calling, if he figured out that the Eye of Magnus had something to do with Magnus, he would have been like, oh yeah, that reminds me, we once tried to get the Staff of Magnus, and we got our asses kicked. You know what, Dragonborn, come with me, let's go do it. No, he's a lazy bastard. So he kind of deserves to die. He doesn't really get anything done. But you literally, all you do is use a stick on an orb and you're done. Plot is not the best, but boy is it fun. And you get a ton of followers. And because of the graphics, you feel like you're really saving the world. When you start to see all the power of the Eye of Magnus spilling out all over Winterhold, it really gives you a great sense of scale. But sadly, it goes in the tedious grind category for one reason. Those magical apparitions that you have to keep fighting, those are resistant to almost every kind of damage. Were it not for those magical anomaly enemies, this mission would be up here. But with them, I'm sorry, I gotta put it down here with one of the least fun missions. These are my opinions. Let me know what you think in the comments below.